Hi Alberto, let's take a look at these essays today. The first one is a letter, summer job. Let's see what you said. Dear Sir or Madam, my name is Alberto Martinez. I am a civil engineering student at Sydney University. Okay, here you need a linking device. You needed an AND. Okay? This is my degree's third year, and my marks have always been over 8 out of 10. Okay, remember that we don't typically use the apostrophe S to show possession with inanimate objects. We usually just do this for living things, like people primarily. Okay, so rather than saying this is my degree's third year, it's better to say I am in the third year of my degree. Okay, or I'm in the third year of my degree program, even better. So I prefer that there. This is a little unnatural sounding. Okay. Hard working and commitment with the responsibilities I have been given are my philosophy's main pillars. Okay, hard working is wrong. So hard work and commitment to the responsibilities I have been given are my philosophy's main pillars. Again, you've got an inanimate object with the apostrophe S, so a better choice here would have been are the main pillars of my philosophy. In order to get some work-related experience during summer, I'm writing this letter to request for a temporary position. To request a temporary position on your team between December and February next year. Okay. You know what I think I would have preferred here, Alberto? I think I would have preferred if you had given the reason for writing the letter first. So I'm writing this letter. So, for example, Dear Sir or Madam, I'm writing this letter to request a temporary position on your team between December and February of next year. My name is Alberto Martinez, and I am a civil engineering student at Sydney University. Okay, and then the rest of it makes sense. But it's always best to have the first sentence be the purpose for your letter. Okay? All right, so as the purpose of this temporary job is to start understanding how construction really works, I would appreciate the opportunity of working in either marine or highway projects. I've studied your portfolio, and the highway upgrade you are dealing with beside Wollongong interests me very much. Therefore, please let me know if any temporary assistance are necessary there. I have little experience related to civil engineering, but I know how drainage installations and earthworks are carried out, as I worked last summer as a laborer. I'm really good in mathematics and economics, and my teachers keep on saying that I am going to master the structural assessment shortly. Please call me if you have any options available. I look forward to hearing from you. Yours sincerely, Alberto Martinez. Okay, so let's work a little backwards here. It shouldn't be yours sincerely. It should be yours faithfully, because your letter started out, Dear Sir or Madam. When we don't know the name of the person we're writing to, the sign-off has to be yours faithfully. Okay? I liked this paragraph. Well, no, actually, I already told you that I didn't like the order of your sentences here. Okay, what you wrote was fine, but the order was wrong, but we already dealt with that. This paragraph was fine. This paragraph was fine, except I wasn't really crazy about some of the vocabulary you used. It felt a little lower level, so I wanted to improve the level of vocabulary a little bit. So rather than saying I know how drainage and installations are carried out, you could have said I am familiar with how drainage installations and earthworks are carried out. All right, this was fine. And then this, I am really good in mathematics. There are several words that I personally don't like seeing in IELTS, and I can tell you what they are. They are good, bad, big, small, nice. Okay, so there's so many other words that carry meaning that I think these are too basic and too basically non-descriptive. So let's try to replace them. Let's try to stay away from them in IELTS. I know we use them all the time, but in IELTS I'd like to see you showing the extent of your vocabulary, okay? So let's switch that around, and rather than saying I'm really good in mathematics, why don't we say instead I am highly skilled in mathematics and economics, or let's see, my highest grades have been in mathematics and economics. And this too just felt a little informal. My excuse me, my teachers keep on saying. It just felt informal. So my teachers, or since you're a college student, or a university student, I'm assuming they're not teachers, but they're professors. So this should probably be, my professors assure me that I will score very well in my structural assessment shortly. So essentially, like I said, I want you to raise the level of some of this vocabulary a little bit. The rest of the letter was fine, okay? So, like we said already, some sentence order problems here. This was fine, but this had some weak areas of vocabulary. All right? And then, of course, the sign-off was incorrect here. So you have to be aware of that as well. Let's take a look at your essay. Okay, and here it is. It's the essay about pollution, the reasons, and how this can be solved. Let's see what you did. Nowadays, contamination is concerning a big part of society, as it is even usual for big cities to have pollution clouds over them. However, how can this problem be sorted out? The essay below gathers reasons and potential measures which could be followed to minimize contamination spreading. Okay, I like this last sentence, but again, you're using big, 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 big. So let's see where. A big part of society. I think we could avoid that, big part of society. So instead, why don't we say, nowadays contamination concerns a large sector of society, okay, as it is usual, not even, as it is usual for even highly populated metropolises to have pollution clouds over them. Okay, so you can see that I just I raised the vocabulary level a little bit, all right? Even though I'm having trouble with my own vocabulary when I speak. All right, anyway, the rest of it was fine. Okay, let's take a look here. Let's see. Firstly, gas oil combustions are responsible for the biggest amount of contamination CO2. No, for the big, again, here it is. So let's try it again. Gas oil combustions are responsible for the greatest percentage of CO2 related contamination. Now, careful with this word contamination. I know that you're trying to replace the word for pollution, but already in like 3-4 sentences you've used the word contamination. Look, once, twice, 3 times. So don't be afraid to use pollution. You're supposed to. It's all right. Because you don't want to do this either. You don't want to keep repeating the same word. Okay, so this gas, usually coming from automobiles or industries, damages the ozone layer and human lungs at the same time. One of the possibilities to reduce CO2 emissions would be to improve bus and train connections, minimizing car usage. For example, ABC newspaper had a section last month in which it was stated that if the bus services in Australia were half the current prices, 30% of the population would stop using cars to go to work, which would reduce contamination by 20%, not 20%, which would reduce it by. Therefore, public transport improvements would mean pollution decreases. Okay, so take a look at this. You talked about the connections improving, but then your example didn't deal with the actual connections themselves, but instead you talked about the prices. So this piece of support here doesn't follow logically the main idea that you've said, okay? You talked about connections, you talked about transport improvements, but this doesn't talk about connections or improvement, it just talks about price reduction. So careful, they're not really connected. Okay, let's go to the next paragraph. Secondly, not only does CO2 come from the industries in the cities, but huge waste volumes are also coming out of their day-to-day activities. Okay, when you start a sentence with not only, there's a certain syntax you have to follow. It's called inversion. So if you're not familiar with it, do try to familiarize yourself with it. It's a nice higher level piece of grammar, and it's really, really, really nice to see in an essay. Okay, so Some companies use recycled raw materials to build their products and to reduce their taxes. These kinds of corporations pay. Okay, I'm confused here about the grammar. Hold on. And to reduce the taxes these kind of corporations pay is a solution, potential solution. Okay. And to reduce the taxes these kinds of corporations pay is a potential solution to the contamination issue, as this would also reduce the recycled raw material prices. Okay, I understand it now, but it was a little difficult to follow, okay? All right, as an example, an article from Harvard University mentioned that the recycled material costs are not much higher than the non-recycled ones. This article also highlighted that is the government's reduced, what does this mean, this is here? That if the government's reduced recycling costs, know the around 14%, get rid of this A, they would become the cheapest option available and everyone would start recycling. Consequently, to promote recycled material usage is also in favor of the contamination reduction. Again, with contamination, just please use pollution. Okay, to summarize, the important things for everybody to be committed to the minimization of pollution, and by adding up measures as the ones mentioned above, future generations will enjoy a much healthier planet Earth. Okay, that's fine. This was nice. You did something really interesting here that most people don't attempt. You basically had problem and solution in one paragraph, and then problem and solution in another paragraph. That's fine. You absolutely can do that, and it's appropriate, and I didn't have any problem with it. It worked for you because you had a solution for each of your problems, and you developed them in your paragraph. Most people don't attempt this because the problems that they do, the solutions that they do mention don't necessarily relate to the problems they've mentioned. But you did this, and you did this well. For me, the biggest problem here is with your grammar and your vocabulary. There was a lot of repetitive vocabulary and a lot of inaccuracy. And then, of course, there were some grammar areas that were a little troublesome. Nothing really serious, but there were a few areas that certainly don't showcase the level that you could potentially have. All right, so go ahead and correct these, send them back to us corrected, and obviously you'll need to add to your error correction list. So go ahead and do that, and I'll see what you write tomorrow. Okay, good luck.